Hey, I'm Adam Thompson. In the last video, I went through the 3 C's so your people can do their jobs, which allows you to do your job: clarity, capacity, and capability. This one's about capability, where I'll go through what needs to be in place for your people so they can get on and do their job. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. Okay, capability. For someone to be able to do their job so you don't have to do their job, they need the capability to actually do that job. So this is useful in terms of both hiring when you're bringing people into a role, but also more commonly when you're thinking about why isn't the job happening the way I thought it would happen. So pyramid, and like pyramids, the foundation's at the bottom. Know-how. We're going to talk about being a cyclist in the Tour de France. Do they know how to ride a bike and how cycling works? That's what know-how is. Interest. Do they actually like riding a bike? Maybe if the interest doesn't seem to be there, we need to look at some of these other factors, or perhaps even just have a conversation about whether they like riding bikes at all. Often people can self-select a bit there, especially if there's other options that they can do maybe within the same team or the same organisation. Action logic means just simply the logic through which they take action. I use a model called the Leadership Maturity Framework. One example, some action logic would be opportunist. If you see $50 on the ground, steal the $50 because it's a dog-eat-dog world, it's a jungle out there. That worldview is not really going to work in organisations. Some people are driven by the need to get along, to follow the rules. Some people driven by the need to follow data. Some people driven by the need to achieve goals. Some people driven by the need to look at how, isn't it amazing how it's all relative and fits together. Different angles are appropriate for different sorts of roles, and people can work on how they view the world and become aware of it. That's what the action logic is. For cycling, we want a bit of dog-eat-dog in them. We need a bit of mongrel, a bit of expertise maybe, hopefully a bit of achievement, and a bit of diplomat in terms of being able to get along. But ultimately in cycling, if there's not a heavy dose of that opportunist dog-eat-dog, they're not going to be able to cut it.
The cynics and the skeptics, I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry you can't dream big, and I'm sorry you don't believe in miracles.
But if they're driven by logic and data to the point where they're not actually going to achieve the goals that they're paid for, we could have a problem. So understanding where someone's fundamental motivation comes from is helpful in getting them to be able to deliver what the job requires. Cognitive processing. What we're talking about there is the ability to handle the weight of the decisions that are being asked. For example, where do I start cleaning this room in order to do it quickly and efficiently at the quality required? The weight of that decision is not quite as high as, should we invest $5 million in trying to get our cleaning company up and running in Europe? Different weights of decisions. Easy to advise on decisions. It's when you feel the weight of accountability, like a time when I actually ended up being coach of the baseball team because the coach and the assistant coach got kicked out of the game, and I made a really dumb pitching change because it's easy to advise, and if I'd have been asked to advise, I probably would have given a different decision. But when I felt the weight of actual responsibility, I made what in retrospect was a dumb decision. So when we're talking about cognitive processing, the ability to handle the weight as in make decisions that are required over the time span. Now for a pro cyclist, this is more like lung capacity. If you've got fully professional lung capacity, you're one of those freaks of nature that can actually compete as a professional cyclist in the Tour de France, and you're entered into the local Adelaide criterium, you're going to get bored. You're going to get out the front, and what are you going to do? You're going to start mucking around and basically acting the fool in an effort to amuse yourself. Flip it the other way. If you have normal person lung capacity, let's say you're fit, you're a local Adelaide rider, but then you're in the Tour de France itself, no matter how hard you try, you do not have that lung capacity to be in that race. So you might have the thrill of being in the Tour de France, you might get the ego status, you might get all that sort of thing. However, you're going to be out the back. You're not going to be able to keep up unless you have some gear, in which case you're going to end up feeling frustrated, anxious, and if the ability to pay your mortgage depends on you being in that peloton, you're going to have a very awful life. That's how cognitive processing can work, the ability to handle the weight. Do you have the lung capacity to be in that race? And reflective capacity is the ability inside of people to say, maybe the problem's me, which is going to be pretty valuable for a cyclist, because if you can actually figure out that maybe the issue's you and you're not getting along with your team and you're not able to actually get people on board with your ideas and generally you're not liked, if you think the problem's them, then that's not going to change. And that's why reflective capacity sits at the base of our pyramid, because someone who has reflective capacity has every chance of being able to develop. So these are the 5 things that you're looking to have in place with people in the role or if you're recruiting. So what do we do about them? Know-how. Provide opportunities for training and give people experiences. Interest. Have a conversation about what interests the person and what sort of work is possible. At the very minimum, at least you've established that as a point of conversation. Action logic. I use a tool called the Leadership Maturity Framework, and you can have a conversation with people about what they see as where the truth lies and what drives them. Is it the data? Is it achieving goals and the like? And get to the bottom of how they're seeing the world, which will help them see that they're seeing the world a particular way. Cognitive processing. I use a tool called MCPA, or Modified Career Path Appreciation, through some associates I work with, which gives you an external angle on the sort of weight of the work that someone could handle. The goal of this is to use this diagram by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi in his book Flow, where this axis is about the challenge of a job, or you can look at it as a level of complexity, and this axis is he calls it the skill, but the cognitive processing ability of a person. We want to put people in the flow zone where the challenge and the cognitive processing ability is about equal. So that's the goal of this, not to achieve and become the most powerful person in the land, but to actually put people into the flow zone. So we have a conversation with people. Remember, you can get this assessed externally, but research shows that the judgment of a manager and then the manager's manager who's worked with someone for a period of time is just as strong as getting some sort of external assessment. So you feel this already. And for reflective capacity, we want to have what I call mirror conversations, where people are actually asked to consider what their role in something might be. This can be where some external coaching can be extremely valuable. External coaching can be useful to teach people stuff, and this sort of external coaching can help people to really look at what their role in the situation is. Let's try to get these 5 things into place, then your people will be able to do their job, which means that you'll be able to do your job, and it'll work better for everyone. Okay, good luck. Thanks for watching. Connect, follow, like, share, subscribe on all the usual socials. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, just send me a message on any of those social media platforms and we can talk about how this can help you out. See you next time.